Hey, what's up YouTube? This is Mermail Master coming at you guys again from the Team Time Riders Yugioh channel today with an updated deck profile for the brand new November 6th ban list, which did not really change too many things, but nonetheless, I decided to bring you guys this deck profile. If you haven't figured out what it is already, let me give you a tip. It is Harpies. Now, we haven't seen a lot of Harpie deck profiles for a while. Cosmic King, as you guys know, the main man, the Harpie guy, has put out a couple of profiles as well, but I just wanted to get this one out to you to show you guys my personal list and what I've been playing and what I've really been enjoying with this deck. I've got a lot of tech cards in here, so it's not going to be like a normal Harpie list per se, but if you guys are running like a normal competitive list, and you still want to be able to like put stuff on the board and like still work with things, this is definitely a really great list to sort of, I guess, pick choices and options out of. But yeah, I personally very much enjoy where this deck is at right now. I may make like a couple of other changes. It's not quite like where I want it to be yet, but definitely good. Unlike the wind-up deck profile, this does not have any link monsters in it. I decided to keep it pretty simple since I believe that the best order of business, at least in this deck, which doesn't quite spam on that same level, is just putting out good XYZs and good Harpie monsters and just spamming the board like crazy. So yeah, guys, let's get into it. To start things off first, we've got 3 copies of Harpie Queen. Harpie Queen is one of your main playmakers. She is a 1900 beater when she's summoned to the field, and you can discard her from your hand to the graveyard to search out 1 copy of Harpie's Hunting Ground from your deck to your hand. Really great card that allows you to pop spells and traps on your opponent's side of the field. A common recurring theme with Harpies. Next card we're running in here is 3 Harpie Channeler. You want to see this in your opening hand because it's a playmaker in this deck. Discard 1 Harpie card from your hand to your graveyard, and then you can special summon any Harpie monster from your deck in face-up defense position. And the best thing about this card is that if you special summon a dragon monster, if you control a dragon monster, such as Harpie's Pet Dragon, this card becomes level 7. So it allows you to go for rank 7 XYZ plays, which can be pretty beneficial in certain scenarios. So Harpie's Channeler is absolutely fantastic. You can also search her off of like other things as well. Very great card. Next card we have is, it wouldn't be a Harpie deck without the 3 Harpie Harpist. Harpist is kind of like the Kieran of the deck. When she's normal summoned, you can only activate each of her effects once per turn and only once that turn. But when she's normal summoned, you can target 1 winged beast type monster and then 1 other card that your opponent controls and bounce both of them back to their hand. So it's kind of like the very first Kieran in a way, before Kieran was really a thing. And then the real effect is that when this card is sent to the grave, and it doesn't matter by any means whatsoever, during the end phase of the turn, you get to add 1 level 4 winged beast type monster from your deck to your hand. And it has to have less than 1500 attack. But luckily, one of your main playmakers in this deck, Channeler, has 1400, so you can search her to your deck to your hand using Harpist effect. But Harpist just is like, she just helps you to push for like more kind of plays, and even if you detach her as an XYZ material or you discard her off of Channeler's effect, she's still going to get you that search. So really good. The next card we have in this deck, which is a combo extender, is 2 copies of Harpie Dancer. I've been switching between 3 and 2, but I think 2 is ultimately the perfect number of this card. It's easily searchable out of the deck and also provides a variety of different play structures. It combos really well with your Harpie's Hunting Ground to pop spells and traps, and it also combos incredibly well with your Divine Wind of the Mist Valley, allowing you to special summon things out like really fast. Having a wind monster that can just return from your deck from your field back to the hand is incredibly useful, and she can even resummon herself. You should target and resummon herself in the same like kind of vein that Swap Frog kind of has that ability. So that's Harpie Dancer. The last Harpie, level 4 monster that we're running, got to run the 2 Harpie Lady number 1. Cut the Cyber Harpie Lady from my previous build I believe that Cyber Harpie Lady is just not really as good as Harpie Lady #1. She increases all wind monsters on the field by 300 attack, and if you combine her with like the Hunting Ground, like that's a plus 500 boost to all your monsters just right off the bat. And 300 attack can mean a lot of things. You know, Harpist goes up to 2,000. Queen goes up to 22. Your monsters can get pretty big, which can be useful. So yeah, that is those two, and they can also be special summoned off of Elegant Egotist and other things because they basically count as Harpie Lady at all times. So really, really good. An important play. Now, here's my personal tech card, which I've always been running since like forever, and that's one copy of Harpie Lady's Sisters. And you will see, like, I have found some ways to make use of Harpie Lady's Sisters, not only for her ability to get from the deck, but also from her level. And I will explain more about that later when we get into the extra deck as well. So, and then the final Harpie monster we've got is one copy of Harpie's Pet Dragon. Pretty self-explanatory. Not a lot of people run Harpie's Pet Dragon anymore, but really great to pull from the deck. And then if you draw him into your hand, he can be discarded off of Channeler to special summon something else. He doesn't have too much recursion from the grave, but if you can get him onto the field and if you can get like a rank 7 or something like that, Harpie's Pet Dragon can put in some serious work. So that's it for the Harpies. And now, moving on to some of the tech cards that we have in this deck. So the first card that I'm going to be discussing right now is 2 copies of Garuda the Wind Spirit. Now, I have not seen a single Harpie player really consider running Garuda the Wind Spirit, and I can't figure out why. You banish any wind monster from your graveyard, and Garuda will instantly be able to special summon itself to the field in the same vein as Aqua Spirit, which is really great for getting an extra monster on board when you don't have enough graveyard recursion. You put an extra monster on board that's a rank 4 or, you know, any other kind of play. So really, really good card and helps you push for a lot more stuff. It's also a Wind Wing Beast, which combos incredibly well with the general theme we have in the deck. And now, one of the main theme cards we have here is Barrier Statue of the Stormwinds. This is one of the only wind decks in the format right now. Wind is an incredibly rare archetype, so being able to field a Barrier Statue of the Stormwinds and stop your opponent, like stop anything but like Wind Witches from special summoning is huge. You combine this with Swallow's Nest on your opponent's turn, flip that face up, special summon Barrier of the Stormwinds in response to them, you know, activating like Super Agent from their hand or something like that. Like it's huge. It's absolutely insane. Like the kind of stopped plays that you can have with this. And since it's also a Wind Wing Beast, it combos well with so many other cards in this deck. Like I think that Barrier Statue of the Stormwinds is absolutely fantastic. It slows down your opponent immeasurably while also still allowing you to make plays. So it's like a single turn like Vanity's Emptiness in respect. Very, very good card and definitely needed at 2 in this deck. The final tech card that I have in this deck was one that I actually saw on Reddit, but since putting it in, I've been absolutely a fan of it. And that is 2 copies of Wind Witch Snowbill. You may be asking, where is the whole Wind Witch engine? I tried the Wind Witch engine to start with in this deck, but then eventually cut down to the Snowbells because the Snowbells are honestly playmakers. This allows you to have access to a synchro toolbox that you would never have access to otherwise. Basically, when you control 2 wind monsters, you can special summon this guy from your hand, and any monster that he's used to special summon, that monster, like as long as it's a wind monster, is indestructible by battle or card effects. So you can go into a combined like total of several different monsters. If you have 2 level 4s in that guy, you can go into like a Trishula. Or one of my personal favorites to go into this deck is that young Mistworm. Really, really awesome cards that you can utilize with this deck, and like the power of plays that you can make. Wind Witch Snowbill also takes advantage of the level of like certain monsters in this deck to allow you to go into more crazy synchro plays. You'll see more of this in the extra deck, but I just wanted to show you how much I really love this card in the deck. So that is Wind Witch Snowbill. Final card we have in the deck is, of course, that one Max C. Draw a lot of cards, pretty self-explanatory. Now, moving on to the spells. First off on the spell list is the Triplicate Hysteric Sign, one of the best cards in the entire Harpie deck. Allows you to search Elegant Egotist from your graveyard and your hand, so you only end up running one Elegant Egotist, which helps the consistency out a lot. And then on any turn except the turn that you searched an Elegant Egotist to your hand, you can pop, like, if Hysteric Sign gets destroyed by a card effect and sent to the graveyard, you can add any three Harpie, I think it's any three Harpie cards, not just monsters, from your deck to your hand during the end phase. And, you know, this deck can, like, it needs all the searching it can get, so Hysteric Sign is a completely welcome card, no matter what. And you always want to see this card, you always want to get it off, and both of its effects are absolutely fantastic. Next is, of course, the 2 copies of Harpie's Hunting Ground. Really great for popping your opponent's back row, especially if they're not prepared for it. It's a mandatory pop every single time a Harpie is normal or special summon. It also gives them a nice 200 attack boost. And it's a really, really great way if you combo it with Dancer or with some of your other Harpies, like with Elegant Egotist, to pop a whole bunch of your opponent's back row and, you know, clear out the field for you to make damage on the next turn, or like on that turn. So amazing card, really, really useful in this deck, and it's perfect at 2, not any more number than that. The final Harpie support card we have in here, of course, is that one Elegant Egotist. And Elegant Egotist is absolutely amazing. It can pull Harpie number 1 out of your deck, or it can pull that Harpie Lady Sisters for some crazy plays that I'll go over a little bit later, but it's pretty self-explanatory. It does exactly what it needs to do, and you can get it back to your hand even from your graveyard with that Hysteric Sign. Moving on to some of the other spell cards we have in this deck, we have, of course, that one Divine Wind of the Mist Valley. It's at 1 right now, otherwise I'd put it at more. Combines well with Dancer as well. Special summons any winds out of your deck. A great way to get your... it's another great way to get your barrier statues, since they are normally unsearchable. Very, very good card. Would run it at more. Got one Swallow's Nest in here. I'm trying to figure out what I should take out for it to help this deck out even more. But Swallow's Nest is like the main way that you're going to get your barrier statue out, or get any other Harpie that you need like at that moment. Also really, really great for OTKs when you're you just push for damage, and then if you need a little bit more, you know, drop a Swallow's Nest from your hand and special summon another monster from your deck. So I definitely want to put in at least one more Swallow's Nest into this deck. I just have to figure out what I want to take out for it. And the last spell card I've got is just a crazy one, Triangle Ecstasy Spark. Now, you may be thinking like, oh yeah, you can just take out the Triangle Ecstasy Spark for the Swallow's Nest. And yes, that's true, but I also sometimes like to resolve it, and it is, in some senses, a fun deck. So I have resolved Triangle Ecstasy Spark a good number of times, believe it or not. Harpie Lady Sisters is surprisingly a very easy card to pull from the deck with a variety of search cards. So definitely something to consider running in here. But yeah, I've enjoyed running Triangle Ecstasy Spark. So that's it for the spells. Moving on to the traps now. The traps that we have are 3 copies starting off of Harpie's Feather Storm. When we have the spell and trap destruction, we also have the monster destruction, which basically it shuts down monster effects for the turn as long as you control a Harpie monster, and if you or as long as you control a winged beast, and if you control a Harpie monster, which this entire deck is, except for, you know, save for a couple of cards, you can activate this card as a hand trap card at 3 if you get the chance. So definitely Harpie's Feather Storm. I will mention though, the end effect unfortunately states that if this card is destroyed while in your possession, while it's set, you can add a Harpie's Feather Duster from your deck to your hand, but RIP, the card is still banned here in the TCG. So very, very sad, RIP. Hopefully we'll get Harpie's Feather Duster back so we can run it with this nice Harpie's Feather Storm. Very excited for that day. Next card we have in here is 3 copies of Hysteric Party. Another really great card. Discard 1 card from your hand to the graveyard and special summon as many Harpies as possible, as many Harpie Lady as possible from your graveyard. And then when this face-up card is destroyed, destroy all of those monsters. But basically activate Hysteric Party, discard, any monster, including a Harpie, then target any number of monsters. They all count as Harpie Lady while they're on the field and in the graveyard. So you just special summon that thing, like just special summon, like spam the board with all your Harpies. And it's incredible, like the kind of advantage that Hysteric Party can provide you in terms of, you won't be able to go for those XYZs right away, but like still just the sheer ability of being able to utilize Hysteric Party to spam the field can sometimes put an unaware opponent in a very, very tough spot. It's one of those tempo cards that just can turn the duel around in your favor in no time flat. The last cards we're running here is the Solemn Brigade, and that's 2 strikes and 1 warning. Very, very great sets of cards here. Pretty self-explanatory, negates a bunch of things, and pretty much helps out the deck. So that's it for the main deck, guys, and now moving into the extra deck. The extra deck, I think, is the part that you guys have all been waiting for, and I'm going to show you some of the monsters that I run to help take advantage of the myriad cards in this deck. So starting off here, we're going to go with the rank 7s that you make with Dragon and Channeler. We have 1 copy each of Red Eye's Flare Metal Dragon and number 11 Big Eye. Very toolboxy rank 7s. Very, very great at doing things. If I was running the Link build, I would definitely throw in a Galaxy Tomahawk with a bunch of other Link monsters, but I think that the lineup of XYZs as well as Synchros that I've chosen is really, really, jiving with my play style right now. But each of these does a great thing. This guy's great at like getting you the little bit of extra damage that sometimes the Harpies are not able to finish off with. And Big Eye can just steal things on your opponent's side of the field, and it's just generally very good for putting the hurt on your opponent. The next card we have in here is one of a Harpie card. It's the Harpie's Pet Phantasmal Dragon. And this guy is just, he's insanely good for a variety of different reasons. And he's kind of like Heartland Draco in a lot of ways. I don't currently have a Heartland Draco in this extra deck right now, though you can, of course, take out any of the cards that I'm teching or running in here for a copy of Heartland Draco. But basically it says that he can attack the life points of your opponent directly, and you cannot target any monsters with effects for attacks that have Harpie in their name. And that includes, of course, himself. So he's someone who's actually like worth the 3XYZ summon. You got to absolutely have him in here. Next, we got Ice Beast Zero Fine. I gave my super rare copy to Cosmic King because I know he's the main Harpie guy, but Ice Beast Zero Fine is in here. Just a really great, it's just a really great card at being able to, detach material and then negate all of the cards like that are face up on the field and gain attack points equal to those values. So Zero Fine can get like massive, and she's super easy to summon in this deck. Just wing beast type monsters of level 4, and she can activate that effect multiple times, like as long as you can keep her on the field. Really, really good. Now, of course, we've got Utopia and the Lightning package here, if you want to go for the OTK. I know that this card has like roughly fallen out of style lately, as rank 4s are starting to be less and less a thing in our current format, but this is a rank 4 deck, so you got to have Utopia and you got to have Lightning. Next cards, of course, that we're running in here is that singular copy of Lightning Chidori. You only really need to go for 1 copy of this, but it does enough on its own to merit, running it. It can bounce a set card upon XYZ summoning, and then once per turn, bounce a face-up card to the top of the deck. So, sometimes like putting something on the top of the deck that your opponent really doesn't want is even better than doing like the Castel Shuffle. So that's definitely something that you can consider. The next card that we have in here is Gagaga Samurai, generic Blade Armor Ninja for those OTKs, and can also redirect attacks to himself, which can be incredibly useful if there's certain monsters you want to protect. Next, of course, we're running Castel. Also pretty self-explanatory. Castel is Castel. You guys know what he does. You know him, you love him. And the final XYZ we have in here is Dweller. Dweller is an awesome card. So now that we've done the XYZs, it's time to move into Synchro territory. And this is something that I've gotten to do recently thanks to, pretty much thanks to the fact that we have those monsters in here. And, you know, to start off with those monsters, we have 2 copies here of the level 9s. 1 copy of Trishula and 1 copy of Mistworm. And both of these cards are, like, insanely cool to go with, and they all combo off of our only and main tuner in this entire deck, which is those Windwitch Snowbells. If you have 2 wind monsters on the field, you can special summon a Snowbell to the field, and you have most of the time it's going to be 2 level 4s and the Windwitch Snowbell, and that's 9. So a little known fact is that it's the other Windwitches that restrict the monsters you can go from the extra deck. Windwitch Snowbell has no such restriction, so you can go for Trishula and, you know, banish your stuff. And with Mistworm, in most situations, is inferior to Trishula. However, in this, its attribute as a wind monster gives Snowbell's effect the ability to make him indestructible by card effects, which is absolutely huge. A 2500 indestructible beater that can bounce 3 things on summon. Even if you Solemn Strike it or Solemn Warning it, Mistworm still is here to stay. And, you know, it's like both of these synchros are excellent ways to get monsters to the graveyard as well for like Hysteric Party and like other things. That, you know, most of the time, like if you have monsters that are attached as XYZ materials, you can't really do anything with them. But this play like really helps you to, you know, get your Harpies to the graveyard where they're needed the most. So those are your level 9s. Now, moving on to, we have only 1 level 5 in here. I don't own a Chanbara, although I probably would run one if I had it, but in place of Chanbara, I got Castel. There's not too many dark monsters in the format right now, but I think Castel, like, people are sleeping on this card, and, you know, it's just a very, very good level 5 synchro, and it's something that I definitely think people should run if they have the chance. And, you know, as I said, like, the lack of restrictions on this card, the only restriction it is for summon and to control 2 winds. But, like, once you have this card on the field, you can use it with one of the Harpies or one of the monsters you have on the field to go for Castel and, you know, continue to put pressure on your opponent. The last 2 monsters we have in the deck are 1 copy of Clearwing Fast Dragon and 1 copy of Ancient Fairy Dragon. Now, you may be asking yourself, how do we make them? How do we summon a level 7 in this deck? Because we have a tuner that's like level 1, and we have a, you know, another monster that's just like all of our monsters are level 4. So you can either go for level 5 or a level 9. And that, my friends, is where Harpie Lady Sisters comes in. She is a level 6 monster, which means that if you get her out onto the field, you can instantly have the ability to, you know, like, any Harpie plus an Elegant Egotist and a Windwitch Snowbell in your hand. It's a very, very easy play to assemble. You can get that to the field. You can special summon Harpie Lady Sister, and then since you control 2 monsters at the time, special summon Snowbell. Snowbell level 6 and 1 into a 7 of monsters. And just both of these guys are like incredibly useful in a variety of different circumstances. Ancient Fairy, I think, is probably one of the most useful, and I never thought I'd say, but it's the best Signer Dragon right now. Never thought I'd say it, but Ancient Fairy, you know, you can use her, special summon her under the Harpie Hunting Ground, pop that thing, gain 1,000 life points, search the next one from your deck, special summon another Harpie from your hand. Like, just keep your plays, like, just going and live. And, you know, Ancient Fairy is an absolutely incredible card, and, you know, the ability to be able to make it in this deck it just extends your plays out by so much. You can have an easily searchable way to get to your Divine Wind of the Mist Valley, and that's assuming, of course, you're not like running the terraformings or whatever, and you just keep comboing off. You know, grab a Dancer or something, special summon it, bounce it back to the hand, and then special summon another wind monster, and just continue to make plays from there. It's incredible. And then finally, Clearwing Fast Dragon, brand new out of that manga. Another really great card that allows you to just pretty much activate his effect and negate any extra deck monster your opponent has. Synchro, Fusion, XYZ, or Link. Just negate that monster and turn its attack to, or negate that monster's effects and turn its attack to 0. just like gives you a lot of opportunity to provide some disruption on your opponent's turn, which is something that this deck really does lack. So both of those are very easy to make, and with being summoned off of the Snowbell and Clearwing Fast Dragon being a win, your opponent will be very, very hard pressed to get rid of it. And it doesn't stop like it doesn't stop at like level 5 or higher monsters, kind of like Clearwing Synchro Dragon does. So it definitely does have a lot of use in situations where Clearwing Synchro would not be. So anyway, guys, that was the deck profile. 40 cards with a 15 card extra deck. No links for now. But that's what I'm pretty much running right now for Harpies. It's been a fantastic ride building this deck and playing it, and I've loved every second of it. So yeah, like, this is what I have for the update, and hopefully they're going to reveal a Link monster for this deck. I'm really hoping that they do somehow in one of the next Link Rain packs. But hey, I'm not really holding my breath for anything. But with that said, guys, thank you so much for watching the video. If you enjoyed it, please remember to give us a like down below. Let us know what kind of content you want to see. And as always, remember to rate, comment, and subscribe. Thank you very much for watching this video. And this has been the Mermail Master with the Team Time Riders YouTube channel. And I'm signing out. Catch you guys next time. Peace.